My sister's wedding was a disaster. Now she wants to ruin mine. Welcome to Reddit Truth Stories. If you love shocking real life stories, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Now, let's dive into today's unbelievable story. I always imagined my wedding day would be filled with joy and excitement, a time to celebrate love and new beginnings. But I never expected it to become a battleground between me, my mother, and my sister. What was supposed to be the happiest day of my life turned into a whirlwind of guilt, manipulation, and emotional blackmail. And all because my mother wanted me to cancel my wedding, for my sister's sake. I'm 30 years old and have been happily engaged to my fiancé for over a year. We spent months carefully planning our special day, making sure everything was perfect. Since we were getting married in December, a busy time of year, we booked our venue well in advance. The excitement of preparing for the wedding was overwhelming, in a good way. But that excitement quickly turned to frustration when my mother made an outrageous demand. The issue? My older sister was supposed to get married a few months ago, but her fiancé abandoned her just before the wedding. It was a devastating event for her, and I sympathize with her pain. However, my mother insisted that, out of respect for my sister's feelings, I should cancel my wedding and postpone it indefinitely. According to her, it was too soon after my sister's heartbreak, and celebrating my marriage would only deepen her wounds. At first, I thought she was just being overprotective of my sister's emotions, but as time went on, it became clear that this was more than just concern. This was control. My mother wasn't simply asking me to be considerate, she was demanding that I put my life on hold for my sister's sake. The problem was, my fiancé and I had already paid for most of our wedding expenses. The venue, the catering, the decorations, everything was set. Changing the date would mean losing thousands of dollars, and financially, it just wasn't an option. When I explained this to my mother, she dismissed it as if money didn't matter. Family comes first, she said. If you really cared about your sister, you'd do this for her. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My wedding had nothing to do with my sister's misfortune. I hadn't stolen her fiancé. I hadn't caused her heartbreak. So why was I being punished? I tried to reason with my mother, reminding her that we had been planning this wedding long before my sister even met her ex-fiancé. But she didn't care. In her mind, my happiness needed to take a back seat to my sister's pain. Things took a turn for the worse when my sister herself got involved. She called me one evening, her voice dripping with bitterness. "So you're still going through with it? Even after what I went through?" she asked. I took a deep breath and told her the truth. "Yes, I am. I'm sorry you're hurting, but my wedding has nothing to do with your breakup." She scoffed. "You always get what you want, don't you? You couldn't even wait a year? Just 6 more months?" That was when I realized this wasn't just about her pain. This was about resentment. My sister had always struggled with relationships. Her first marriage ended after only 2 years. She had a habit of rushing into things, hoping that love would magically solve all her problems. When she met her last fiancé, they had only been dating for a few months before deciding to get married. I had my doubts, but I kept them to myself, and then, just days before the wedding, he left her, no explanation, no goodbye, just a simple message saying, "I'm not ready for this." It was humiliating for her, and I truly felt bad. But that didn't mean I had to put my life on pause. When I refused to cancel my wedding, my mother and sister took things a step further. They tried to guilt-trip my fiancé, calling him and telling him how selfish we were being. My mother even suggested that he was being inconsiderate toward my family and that a real man would convince his bride to wait. My fiancé, bless his heart, stood by me through it all. "We're not doing anything wrong," he told me. "If they can't be happy for us, that's on them." That was when my mother issued an ultimatum. "If you don't cancel this wedding, don't expect me or your sister to be there." I was stunned. Was she really willing to miss her own daughter's wedding over this? I took some time to think, did I really want to start my new life with people who only supported me when it was convenient for them? My fiancé and I had built our relationship on love, trust, and mutual respect. I wasn't about to let guilt and manipulation dictate our future. So I made a decision. I told my mother and sister that they were no longer invited to the wedding. The backlash was immediate. My phone blew up with messages from relatives telling me I was being heartless. but I stood firm. This was my day, and I refused to let anyone ruin it for me. On the day of our wedding and weighing, I felt a mix of emotions. Part of me was sad that my mother and sister weren't there, but another part of me felt free. I was surrounded by people who genuinely loved and supported me. The ceremony was beautiful, and for the first time in months I felt peace. A week after the wedding, my mother called. At first I thought she was going to apologize, but instead she doubled down. "I hope you're happy," she said. "You chose a man over your own family." I realized then that she was never going to see my side of things, so I simply said, "I didn't choose a man over my family. I chose happiness over toxicity." And then I hung up. I don't know if my mother and sister will ever truly forgive me, but I do know one thing. I don't regret my decision. For the first time, I chose myself, and it felt amazing. If you found this story inspiring, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Stay tuned for more shocking true stories, only on Reddit True Stories.